Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West here, and just want to say a blessed Holy Week to everyone out there. Happy Passover to our dear Jewish friends, especially all my dear friends back down there in South Florida, here in the Dallas area as well. And I want to send out a very special shout out to our oldest daughter, Aubrey Elizabeth Graham West. She's 27 years of age today, and I got to tell you, I'm very proud of Aubrey. She just graduated from physician assistant school last summer up at West Liberty University in Wheeling, West Virginia. And now she's here in the Dallas area working in a hospital. She's on the front lines with these other healthcare professionals who are doing everything possible to make sure that we stay safe and we stay healthy in these incredible times in which we live. So, Aubrey, mom and dad, very proud of you. It's been an incredible ride over these 27 years, and we look forward to 27 more. I know Daddy may be a little bit old in another 27 years, but I'll be still kicking, and we can get out there and go shooting, running, and have a great time, and I'll still be grilling steaks for you. But everyone, just thank those healthcare professionals. In this time when we're thinking about how our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ tomorrow, Good Friday, laid down his life for others so that our sins could be washed away, so that we could have eternal life. Guess what? Those healthcare professionals are out there for us every single day. And we really understand the sacrifices, the commitment, and the service that they're giving to us in this crisis with the COVID-19. But when we talk about COVID-19 and reflecting back on my daughter, I was talking to a very close, very near and dear friend of mine who today was telling me about her oldest son. Her son is about to graduate from college, and her son is starting to think about, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What is going to be essential? When you think about some of these things that people are saying, declaring what type of job or what type of business or what type of pursuit is essential or not, based upon their own subjective analysis, based upon their own ideological agenda. And so I thought back, because there have been some statements that have been made over the last week. And I think there's some statements that they're very disconcerting, they're very disturbing. And I want to share those three statements with you and put them in context about where we are going up against this COVID-19 crisis in which we find ourselves engaged. I remember back some time ago when I was a little kid and my daddy used to take me to Atlanta International Airport. It wasn't Hartsfield Jackson yet or anything like that. It was before the great expansion. We were able to walk into the airport. We were able to sit at the gate. I used to love hearing those Eastern Airlines, the Whisper Jets. I don't know if some of y'all remember them, but I used to love hearing the sound of that engine cranking up. Kids can't do that today. As a matter of fact, I want you to think about the fact that we have a generation right now that is about to graduate high school or go into college or graduate out of college. You know what they've known? They've known from 2001 to today. They've known from 9/11 to today. They will never know the opportunity to go and sit and see a loved one goodbye, tell a loved one goodbye from the airport gate. And now we have a generation that is believing that being told to stay at home, that's one of the rights that the government can have if they can induce enough fear, paranoia, and hysteria amongst the population. So when I look at some of these quotes that have been said, I don't want to see us continue down the path of every crisis results in us losing more of our constitutional liberties and freedoms. Who would have ever thought that all these years later, after 9/11, we'd still be taking our shoes off? That was because of Richard Reed. I'm just very grateful they don't ask us to take our underwear off after that underwear bomber. But how insidious has some of these things become? Let's look at what was said by Representative James Clyburn from South Carolina just last week, April the 2nd of 2020. Nancy Pelosi has put Mr. Clyburn in charge of the Pandemic Oversight Committee. And this is what Mr. Clyburn said. He said, this pandemic gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. Mr. Clyburn, what does that mean? Does that mean that you're going to do, as Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste? What are you talking about, restructuring things to fit your vision, a Democrat vision? What exactly is that Democrat vision? Are you very happy about the fact that we last week had 6.6 million Americans file jobless claims, and now we're up to like 16.3 million Americans. Are you very happy about this vision? Is it the one that we see now, a rise of domestic and child abuse, suicides, gun violence, and also robberies of our businesses? Yes, I've been talking to some of our police officers here locally in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Those are the type of things that they're seeing arise. Is that part of the new vision? Is it part of the new vision in restructuring things that we lose more of our civil liberties and rights? Are you happy to see the fact that people cannot go to church, Mr. Clyburn? Are you happy to see the fact that you're telling Americans that they cannot peaceably assemble? Are you happy with the fact that a woman gets a citation because she just was in her own car going for a drive? Or a man was paddleboarding out in the middle of the ocean all alone, and he gets a citation? Or how about a dad that gets handcuffed in front of his own child because he was out for a walk? Is that the new vision, that we will have kids that will never know what it's like to go for a walk with their parent? If they do have both parents in the house, which was part of your vision that, well, destroyed the black family. See, we need to be very concerned about the policies that we see enacted. I want to send out an incredible shout out to a former colleague of mine who is now the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem said, with no apology whatsoever, she was not going to impose any type of draconian shutdown measures all across her state. See, that's the type of vision that we need. A vision that does not, well, usurp our constitutional liberties and freedoms and rights. And so, Mr. Clyburn and the rest of your Democrat colleagues, what exactly do you mean that you're going to use this pandemic to give you all, the Democrats, a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit your vision? Do you like the fact that we see Americans operating in a state of paranoia, hysteria, fear, and panic? Do you like the fact that we see the inability to be able to go out and sit down and have a meal with each other? Or even the fact that we have grocery store shelves that are missing many items? That's a socialist economic agenda. Is that your vision? That you have more power over the people collectively than the people having sovereignty over their lives and themselves? And to follow up what Mr. Clyburn said, let me repeat it once again, because this is very interesting. The James Clyburn, a sitting member of the United States House of Representatives, someone who supposedly has sworn an oath to support and defend and protect the Constitution of the United States of America, said that this pandemic gives Democrats, he didn't say Americans, but he said Democrats, a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. Now, that was followed up by Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York, who, when asked earlier this week about will we ever get back to normal, his words were that this is the new normal. We're not going back to how things were. What does that mean? That governors and mayors and, well, here in Dallas County, a county judge, Clay Jenkins, I'm talking about you, can unilaterally make these decisions that, hey, we're going to decide what's an essential business. Hey, we're going to decide that we're going to shut you down. We're going to force you to go into your homes. We're going to lock you down. And we'll continue to do so arbitrarily. Maybe that's that vision that they're talking about that Mr. Clyburn kind of let out of the bag. And I don't understand why we aren't really discussing this in an open forum. That quote by Mr. Clyburn, that this pandemic gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision, that Governor Andrew Cuomo is now talking about this is the new normal. Define what the new normal is. Define what this vision is, Mr. Clyburn, Mr. Cuomo. See, you don't ever want future generations of Americans, just like my daughter, to ever know what liberty and freedom is all about. You want them to believe that this is the new normal. This is your vision, a vision where we see less individual rights, freedoms, and liberties, less individual sovereignty, where you all can make the decision which small businesses, which corporations are essential or not and stay open. A vision, a new normal. It says the American people can be driven by fear, paranoia, and hysteria like lemmings over a cliff. to their own demise. You know, I think back, and I did a little research. In the first year of the Depression, 40,000 Americans took their lives. Little known thing, suicides are on the rise right now. Because, see, that's what happens when you drive people into desperation, despair, despondency. That's what happens when we as Americans, we forget that we are the people, not the sheeple. We allow these individuals to make these unilateral decisions about our lives, and we don't stand up and we don't push back. See, what is this vision, Mr. Clyburn, that you're talking about? What is this new normal, Mr. Cuomo, that you're talking about? This pandemic, this fear, paranoia, hysteria that has been created. And this brings me to the third point, the third statement that I want to talk about that was said earlier this week. I believe it was by Dr. Deborah Birx of the Coronavirus Task Force of the President. When Dr. Birx admitted that all deaths in the United States of America are being classified as coronavirus deaths, you got to be kidding me. We're up here, you know, everyone, 12,000 Americans have died because of coronavirus. Really? Do we really know what the truth is? When we talk about 350,000 cases, what does a case mean? Does it mean that that was a person that was infected with the coronavirus, but now they're no longer affected by the coronavirus? Because if that be the case, then shouldn't we see if a person comes off being a case of coronavirus, that number should go down? But then again, think about this. If someone comes into a hospital and they have a gunshot wound to the chest, but then in evaluating that patient as they try to sustain their lives, they realize that patient is also infected with COVID-19, and then that patient ends up dying. Based upon what Dr. Birx just said, and there are some other doctors that are sharing some information out there as well, that person with the gunshot wound who dies because of the gunshot wound is now classified as a death by coronavirus. See, there's a big difference between what you are dying with and what you are dying because of. Let me repeat that. There is a big difference between what people are dying with and what people are dying because of. I'd like to know the truth. How many people out there in these great United States of America, I know Italy, Iran, whatever, but right now I'm focused on the United States of America. How many people here in the United States of America have actually lost their lives because solely of COVID-19? They had no other type of medical complications whatsoever. We need to know that real number. Because think about this, all of these incredible decisions that have been made, well, they were based upon two that we now know, very erroneous computer models. There was the one computer model out of Imperial College in London, completely thrown out the window. And now we have the other computer model from the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington. And a little known thing that really is not getting shared out there, they keep revising their numbers down. Remember, we were told 100,000, 200,000 deaths. This is going to be the worst week ever. It's sad that we've lost some 12,000, maybe 13,000 Americans now. But with the swine flu, H1N1, under the watch of President Barack Obama, 2009 to 2010, 61 million Americans were affected. 12,469 lost their lives. Even right now, with the current seasonal flu, we have tens of thousands of Americans who have lost their lives. And not to mention heart disease and some of the other things that happen. So what is the real truth about COVID-19 here in the United States of America? We start off and we've got James Clyburn saying that, you know, this pandemic gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. And then we have Governor Andrew Cuomo, who says that we're not going back to normal. This is new normal. Much the same as Barack Obama said about our economy, that the new normal was a GDP of 1.5% or less. If we continue to believe those things, then we will find ourselves just completely surrendering. As Benjamin Franklin said, those who would give up essential liberty for temporary safety, in the end, they will not have liberty nor safety. And then we hear about Dr. Birx making the comment that all these deaths are being classified as coronavirus deaths. There's a real difference between, as I said, what a person dies with as opposed to what they're dying because of. I'd like to know what people are dying because of. So here is what we got to do going forward. Because I got to tell you, I talk to people, I get emails, I get text messages, I see your comments over here. Guess what, folks? Civil disobedience is coming. When we hear people that are blocking aid to small businesses, yes, I'm talking about Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, you Democrats out there who want this tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit your vision. People are going to start to ask questions. When they hear about we want to go back to normality, and Governor Cuomo, you're talking about a new normal. Yes, the American people are not going to accept this new normal. When we know now that, truthfully, we don't know the effects of COVID-19 on the American society. The so-called experts standing up there that just said that every death is being classified as a coronavirus death. You know, it was interesting. We just had 3 women that were stabbed in Knoxville, Tennessee. Actually a 4th, but he survived at a pilot truck stop because of an Islamic jihadist. I wonder if one of those 3 women had the coronavirus when they were doing the autopsy. Would they have said that, there's another coronavirus death? This is how crazy the disinformation has gotten out there. And the longer we continue in this state of disinformation, the more the American people are going to peel the onion back. We got to get the American people to work. Let me give you a great example of what a business did today that I'm very proud of. And so I'm going to send another shout out. First shout out was to Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota. The second shout out is to USAA, my insurance company. Been with them since I came on active duty in 1983. I got an email today from the head of USAA. You know what it said? I'm going to get my insurance premium on my vehicle refunded back to me. Going back from March forward. You know why? Because they said since they did the analysis and they see that less people are out driving, with less accidents, they're returning that money back to the American people. That's leadership. That's what should be happening right now. How many elected officials out there, the ones that are making all of these unilateral decisions about people needing to stay at home, about small businesses, which one is essential and which one's not? All of these Americans being pushed to the unemployment rolls. Which one of these elected officials have come out and said, we're not going to accept our pay during this time? See, I think all of these government employees and government officials out there, they shouldn't be getting paid. As a matter of fact, we should have a tax holiday. Just the same as USAA can do the analysis and they can return insurance premiums. See, that's how the private sector works. How does the public sector work? They keep doing as Mr. Clyburn said. This gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. When have you heard anyone talk about a tax holiday? Especially small businesses. Small businesses that have been shut down, they should not be charged for any type of property tax, any state tax, any kind of tax during this time period of them being shut down. Americans should not be charged for any type of taxation during this time period. I don't want to hear about another $2 trillion of stimulus. You know, the greatest stimulus is let us keep our own money. Let us be able to take care of ourselves. Let me tell you the other thing that we need to do in trying to get this country back to work. Let's set up a green, amber, red system. Because there are some places in the United States of America, based upon cases and hospitalizations and deaths, they should be able to start getting back to work. Now, there are some areas like New York, they can remain in the red zone. But there are some places like South Dakota, that's a green zone. So why are we inflicted this collective punishment on the American people? Because, as Mr. Clyburn said, this pandemic gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. Didn't say Americans. It said Democrats and our vision. Governor Cuomo, the new normal. And let me tell you something else that somewhat offends me. That all of a sudden, people are starting to talk about how horrible it is that COVID-19 is affecting the Black and Hispanic community, especially the major urban centers. These major urban centers are run by the Democrats. That's your vision, a vision that has led to unhealthy communities. And maybe that's why they're suffering. See, you guys don't care about gang violence. You don't shed any tears about that. You don't shed any tears about the fact that since 1973, 20 million black babies have been murdered in the womb. No, that's no big deal. But now all of a sudden you want to try to use something as a political talking point. That's disgusting. And you control all these major population centers. So maybe it's your fault and it's your failure. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I wrap this thing up and get ready to take your questions, I want you to think about those three quotes from this past week. Last week, Thursday, James Carvin, Representative of South Carolina, the head of the Pandemic Oversight Committee, his quote, "This pandemic gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision." The governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, saying that this is a new normal and we're not going back to what the old normal was. And then Dr. Birx, who stood before us earlier this week, stood before us, the people, and basically told us that every death out there that's been going on is being accounted as a death to coronavirus. That's deception. We demand to know the truth, Dr. Birx. And Dr. Fauci, don't start trying to take credit, because all this is about was common sense. We could have just performed better hygiene, washed our hands, kept our distances, or whatever. We did not need to be driven into this panic mode because of erroneous computer models, so that people could see this as a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit their vision. The American people are not sheeple, and they will not stand for this too very much longer. And don't think that you have President Trump in a bind whereby he must continue down this path of manipulation because you're just going to beat him over the head about you have blood on your hands, you're killing people if we try to get the Americans back to work. The American people want to get back to work. The American people want to take care of themselves. We don't want what James Clyburn is talking about, a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. Because that vision is not the American way. It's not the American vision. You guys better figure it out pretty soon, like the head of USAA did. The civil disobedience could be coming very soon. It's only so long that you can try to fulfill your vision, your will, and your ideological agenda upon the American people. We will not be economically enslaved. We seek to be economically empowered. With that being said, let's go to your questions. Okay, Scott Kirkland, our president, is the only one donating his pay, and it didn't take a crisis for him to do that. You're absolutely right. Mr. West, why are you suggesting something that got disgusting Congress and got immediately shot down overwhelmingly by Republicans? Marshall Rankin, I'm talking about something that just happened recently. And this was something that was blocked by a lot of the Democrats, the immediate relief to small businesses. So that's what I'm discussing right here, right now. We're in a national crisis. All states are dealing with this infection. Yes, we are in a national crisis, and we should allow our states to deal with this, but we should allow our states to be smart about this. Like I said, Governor Kristi Noem did an incredible thing. I know that here in Texas, we have 254 counties. Not all 254 counties are being affected equally. So what should we be doing in looking at how we can alleviate some of these restrictions here in the state of Texas so we can get back? You know, a lot of folks have not understood the fact that our oil and gas industry is here in Texas, which means revenues are driving up, which means that, well, debt and deficit, that can be happening here and affecting our economy in Texas. Texas now is facing double-digit unemployment. We got to get our industries back to work. And so let's start figuring out what we can do. That's what leadership does, not what we can't do. Let's see. Okay, exactly. Brent News, yes, thank you. Mr. West, the Republicans only lost the suburbs to the Democrats in 2018. I would suggest it might have been something we did to make the suburbs go Democrat. A better example than here in Collin County. Yes, I mean, one of the things that we have to do as a Republican is start to bring our principles, our values back into the urban centers and extend them out into those suburban centers. That's exactly the strategic goal and vision that you see the Democrats doing. And they have done that very successfully in conservative states and flipped them over to blue. Most really in Virginia, where you see four counties that really have dictated the political atmosphere in the state of Virginia, primarily the Northern Virginia counties of Prince William and Fairfax. And the exact same thing here in the state of Texas, where you look at Dallas County, San Antonio, Bexar County, Austin, Travis County, Houston, Harris County, El Paso County, and some of those outlying suburban areas. Even the fact that Ted Cruz was not able to win Tarrant County, Fort Worth, back in 2018. So we've got to take our message into the areas, into the communities that really need to hear our message the most, the message of being a victor, not a victim. That's what it's all about. And that's what I want to deliver. Kathy Davidson, Socialist Democrats have set this up. I don't know if the Socialist Democrats set this up. I think that this, once again, is a great example of Rahm Emanuel's mantra of never let a good crisis go to waste. That's exactly what you see in this from last week, Thursday, by James Clyburn, which this quote should have been blown up all across the news. This pandemic, he says, gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. Nowhere in that statement does he say anything about America, about the American people. That tells you something about the ideology, the mindset, and delusion of the progressive socialist left and the Democrat Party. You think about that as we go forward through this year into the November election. Ramon Rodriguez, Dr. F, and Dr. B, both in the cabal with the Clintons. Look, I can't give any subjective analysis. All I can do is talk about the facts. And the fact is, Dr. Burke stood up there and said something that should really cause the hair on all of the backs of our necks to rise up when she said that all deaths are being classified as coronavirus deaths. I don't get that, because that means that we don't really know what the real number of deaths are. As I said, think about this. There's a difference between what you are dying with and what you are dying because of. And I know I've had friends that told me, yeah, I came down positive for COVID-19. I have friends that are in the NYPD that have told me, yeah, I've been positive. I've, put myself in quarantine. I'm feeling better. I have healthcare professional friends that have said, yeah, I got tested positive for COVID-19 about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I stayed at home and I feel much better. So we've got to do better with reporting the real statistics. And as I said, even here in Dallas County, the county judge Clay Jenkins made the unilateral decision to shut down Dallas County based upon his reliance upon these faulty models. The Imperial College model out of London, the IHME model out of University of Washington. And again, go and look. The IHME model, they keep reducing it. They keep bringing those numbers down. And just watch and see, you're going to have a lot of people patting themselves on the back, all because guess what? We, the people, we just did the common sense right thing. Start a revolution. I'll be there with you, sir. I don't think I need to start anything. I think the revolution starts with each and every one of you standing up and asking the questions. I think that we need to be asking these elected officials, why are you continuing to get paid when I ain't? Why do I not have a tax holiday? Why at the head of the USAA, the United States Automobile Association, located here, headquartered in San Antonio, Texas, good thing. But if they can figure it out how they can get a refund, get money back into the pockets of Americans, their clients, because they went and did the analysis, $53 million going to be returned back to USAA members. Why is the federal government, state governments, local governments, why haven't they enacted a tax holiday? Why? Because many of them are continuing to get paid while they're telling you that you and what you do or your business is not essential. Maybe that's part of that vision that James Clyburn was talking about. Maybe that's part of that new normal that Governor Andrew Cuomo was talking about. Pebble Medic, Mr. West, talked to us about shelter in place legal meaning. I got to tell you, if you want to put that up against your First Amendment right, that you have the right to peaceably assemble, it's not based upon legality. What a lot of people are trying to do is saying that this is an emergency situation and we had to enact these shelter in place forced lockdowns. You must go out there and wear masks or else we're going to fine you, or $1,000, $2,500. But all of this panic area was based upon a couple of erroneous computer models. People taking advantage of a situation to extend the powers of government over us as the individual citizens. Now, I'm very sensitive to the fact that Americans have lost their lives. But death is a part of life. But what we want to know, truthfully, is how many deaths have happened because of COVID-19, not deaths that have happened along with someone being affected with COVID-19. That's the key thing. Because right now, over 40,000 Americans have lost lives because of the common flu and influenza. Are those deaths also being counted as COVID-19 deaths? So no, this whole thing about shelter in place, it is really against the Constitution, but that's why a lot of people have gone out, these elected officials, and declared these states of emergency or whatever, but they are really usurping powers that in many ways are questionable. But if we don't have an education system, well, we have an indoctrination system, but if we don't have an education system that teaches us our civics, teaches us our Constitution, teaches us our Declaration of Independence, then this is what happens. You get driven. Patrick Reagan, thank you so very much. Tricia Henry, track your phone. Here's my phone right here, Trish. Hopefully it's not going to walk away from me. But I know what you're saying. We got to be careful about what's going on. Let's see. Sonia DiPaolo Dykes, my son has been out of work for 3 weeks and can't get through to unemployment. Suicides are on the rise in the United States of America. Now, of course, people are going to count that. Bloomberg's and the Every Town for Gun Safety Moms Demand Action. They're going to count that to say that that's why we need to have gun control. That's how good and devious and delusional and deranged these people are. They'll use any statistic to further their agenda. To further and make sure that it fits their vision. We have created a greater crisis for the American people than the one that we were facing. A crisis that we were facing that, well, we know where it emanated from. And now we know that erroneous computer models were driving us into this state of hysteria. We can't allow this to happen. We can't. Like I said, remember the days when we were with our moms and dads and they could take us to the airport and we could see planes taking off? Slowly but surely, with every crisis that comes about, we lose a little bit more of our liberties, our freedoms, our rights, and our sovereignty. Ramon Rodriguez, again, Northern Italy is full of Chinese industry, makes you think a little. Again, I would advise you all to go out and read China's One Belt, One Road strategy and look at how many Chinese have migrated into Italy here over the last few years, 200, 300,000. Countless amounts of flights between China and Italy. Direct flights between China and Iran. Tells you something, doesn't it? That's all part of that One Belt, One Road strategy. China is guilty of crimes against humanity. If you want, you can go back and look at the research and the Facebook Live from last week, Thursday, where we talked about tracing and looking at this coronavirus. How it started in a virology lab there in Wuhan. and all of the other indicators, trends, and lines that point right back to Wuhan. This is not a question of intent of China. The question is the level of their intent and their real objective. Let's see. Tony Zagara, Dr. Burks is a plant. They want Trump to fail, which means the American people fail. I got to tell you, I'm just going to go right back to this quote from James Clyburn a week ago. This pandemic gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. Hey, folks, if you're an American, you should be upset. You should be angered by that quote from a United States representative, because that truly is about leveraging this pain that's been inflicted upon American people, not just death and the suffering because of this pandemic, but all of the collateral damage that has come from it. They see it as an opportunity to structure things to fit our vision. They see this as the normal, as Governor Andrew did say earlier this week. Very disconcerting. Linda Areza Lilly, real statistics don't matter. Real statistics do matter, because decisions should be made upon real statistics. It should be made upon hunches. And I'm not saying paralyzed in your decision-making process, waiting for information, intelligence, or numbers. But real decision-making is based upon, I would say, the good, the 85% data. This data that all of these decisions were made to force Americans into isolation, to have all of these businesses shut down, to now look at 16.3 million Americans, jobless claims, unemployment. Those decisions were made on data. Imperial College of London and the Institute of Hospital Metrics and Evaluation out of University of Washington. It's all out there. All we got to do is just read it. We got to talk amongst ourselves. We got to share that information. We're not limited. We're American people, not descendants of fearful men and women. We're descendants of patriots, courageous, resilient men and women. A couple more questions. Let's see. Hey, Jennifer Vince Minix, how are you doing? Good day to you too. And a blessed, holy week to everyone. And remember that this week, this Easter week, and we also had Passover in the same week. Not often does that happen. This is about redemption. It's about reconciliation. It's about restoration. It's about resurrection. It's about individual faith. It's about individual strength and character. And that's what we must remember from this example of Easter and Resurrection Day, Sunday that's coming. Gwen Dodd, seriously, and because they need it, we are now beyond sheep. We are in the slaughter line. I don't want to see us be in the slaughter line. I just don't. And that's not who we are. Matt Anderson, how do we as citizens most effectively get our political leaders to stop the nonsense and let us get back to work? Hey, Matt, they got to hear from you. You got to call them. You got to email them. Because I got to tell you, if those elected officials were not receiving paychecks, and remember, their paychecks come from us, the people that have been put out of work, if they're not receiving paychecks, I guarantee you they're going to figure out a way to get us back to work a lot quicker, because they need to feed their own beast. That's part of their vision. So you've got to make your voice heard. This is still a representative democracy. They work for themselves, and you don't work for them. They work for us in these United States of America. Kenny Wilson, sir, why can't the Social Security relieve the limitation on earnings on those of us that have taken early benefits? We could help the economy by returning to full-time work, especially us in the emergency management field. Hey, Kenny, that's a great solution. And that's what leadership is all about, finding solutions, not sitting back and what we can't do. And so, again, that's a great idea that you need to share that with your elected officials. Think about the fact that you had how many, I think it was over 6,000 previously retired members of the United States military from the health services field that were brought back so that they can continue to work. So we can do this. We can figure this out. Andy Malnar, those computer models are as ridiculous as Gore's global warming, fear-mongering, money-making crap. Sir, I would have to agree with you, but again, when you have these people, this is what we got to start realizing. You can question authority. When you have these people that stand up and say, I'm one of the most renowned epidemiologists in the world, and this is what has to be done, and all of these people are going to die. Instead of us just bowing down and saying, he's an expert, she's an expert, let's start doing our own due diligence and research ourselves. Because if we don't, if we move from being people to sheeple, what did James Clyburn say? This pandemic gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. Every single one of us should be incensed by that statement. It was just issued last week, Thursday. All right, last question. Let's see. Especially since their salary is not the only source of income for them and they are not representing the people. That comes from Gwen Dodd. A lot of folks are doing pretty well, up there in the House and the Senate. Some of them maybe not. A lot of folks are doing pretty well. And then one of the things that was said early on by one of our founding fathers is that nothing so greatly compels a man to regard the interests of his constituents than the certainty of returning to the general mass of the people from whence he was taken, so that he may participate in their burdens. That, ladies and gentlemen, 17 June 1788 at the Virginia Ratification Convention for our U.S. Constitution. And that was said by one of our great founding fathers. Not Jefferson, not Washington, George Mason. Just remember that. Never had meant to have a political elite class. They were supposed to be people that were taken from amongst us. All right. Check out my anti-bullying article. I cover adult bullying in the second half, and I guarantee you'll want to share it. And that's from Jim Irion. Look, folks, I'm going to let you go back to your regular lives. I've tied you up for 42 minutes and 30 seconds. It's such an honor to be able to share thoughts, perspectives, and insights with you. And I'm sure that there are some people out there that are ranting and raving and mad and angry with me, but I have a brain. I can think for myself. I'm an American citizen. I am called to think for myself as an individual. I will not be part of a herd mentality. I will not sit back and allow others to browbeat me into submission so that they do exactly what James Clyburn said. This pandemic gives Democrats a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. I will not accept a new normal where my constitutional rights, freedoms, liberties, and sovereignty are undermined and usurped. And you should not. So yes, I'm questioning based upon essential liberty. I am questioning based on objective facts, research, and study. I am questioning because I refuse to be a victim to anyone's ideological agenda. I'm an American. I'm a Texan. I'm a Tennessee volunteer. I am more than a conqueror because I am a Christian, and I will not be conquered. I will not be subjected. I will not be subjugated to anyone's vision that is not a vision of liberty and freedom. Bless you all. Have a fantastic Easter week, Holy Week, Passover. Happy Resurrection Day. God bless you all. God bless these great states of America. God bless Texas. Good night.